It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call shots. Todd, are you ready to give a totally positive review of Black Panther?
I respect that. I respect that opening.
We have no choice. We have to. If we have any negative thoughts, they must be omitted, stricken from the record.
They must be omitted, or we're basically Nazis. But
well, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Black Panther's a pretty fucking good movie.
Yeah, it was a very good movie.
I don't have too many negative things to say about it. So if you guys have never listened to a Shots before, let me run you through how Shots works. So we are going to give our spoiler-free impressions and talk about the movie as much as we can without getting into spoilers. And then we will make a very clear spoiler warning where you need to turn away unless you've seen the movie. Otherwise, go see the movie and come back and listen to the spoiler section. So what is your spoiler-free review of Marvel's Black Panther, sir?
It's a very good superhero movie for the most part.
Roll credits. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, yeah, it's a really good. I think it's a pretty good superhero movie. I mean, like, we've already seen this character before in like Civil War, but
yeah, briefly, yeah.
I mean, I think they did a good way. I think they did a good job of, like, I don't think you needed to see Civil War beforehand.
They give you. I mean, honestly. Almost his entire shit.
His entire arc in like Civil War is basically in there in like
referenced.
Flashbacks.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of spoilery, but it's whatever.
I guess. I mean, again, if you've seen Civil War, you kind of know what to expect for the setup of the character and the setup for Wakanda, and even the setup of one of the villains is all there in Civil War. So I mean, you kind of know. Coming into it, you sort of know what to expect, but what I think is good about this movie, one of the many things I think is good about this movie, is the way that, like, and I can't say this without sounding like an ignorant white man piece of shit, but, like, the way that it shows African culture, in a way that is not really touched upon in mainstream blockbuster movies is impressive. Like, it's it's almost like Hollywood forgets that Africa fucking exists. Like, when I'm watching Black Panther, I'm like, when is the last time I saw a big budget movie that took place in Africa? You know what I mean? Like, this is an interesting culture, a legitimately interesting culture. That's not just like, people have made this movie and the things surrounding it. People have made it into a race thing. Race thing or no, Africa is interesting, and African culture is interesting, and it's a damn shame that this is not touched upon in Hollywood more. And it's cool to see a big budget movie like this come out, touch on that culture, and do so well critically and commercially. Yeah, no, it's really good. It's really, really good. How do you think How do you think this stacks? Because this is what I always think about when we get a new solo movie, is I think about how it stacks against the other solo films, like the debut movies. How do you think this...
Okay, so as a debut one, I think it actually is a pretty strong one. Like,
I mean... I would say that this is, like, on par with, like, Doctor Strange, in my mind.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, because, like, that's... Because out of all the solo movies, I think Doctor Strange is actually one of my favorites.
That movie is really good, but it's, like, looking at the solo movies and stuff, like, it's really hard to top, like, the first Iron Man. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to top, like, the first Guardians. But this is, like, probably, like, number 3 or 4 in terms of the solo movies. Like, it's up there. It's really good. And, when I walked out, I remember I was texting Dan, and I was like, it's really impressive, some of the concepts that this movie brings forward and does it, like, effortlessly. Like, if you think about it, like, people are gonna, I guess minor spoilers maybe, people are gonna walk out of Black Panther having just been shown the concept of like the afterlife and like and not bat a fucking eye. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not weird the way they show it. Like somehow they make the concept of the afterlife in the Marvel universe work. It's like weird. And
you know what? I think the movie actually does a really good job of like combining like this like really like advanced technology, but also keeping it almost mystical at the same time.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool because, you know, Wakanda is the most technologically advanced, you know, anything on the planet, and it's funny thinking about it. So, one of my only complaints with the movie, is that I feel like Black Panther himself is not as interesting as everything else around him.
Yeah.
Like he's great, but his side characters are so good and his villains are so good that he's almost a little boring by comparison.
Mm.
Like it almost doesn't feel like it's his own movie. You know? Like he has his arc that he goes on, you know, his whole conflict of him not ready to be the king or whatever. But, you know, ultimately all these other characters are in my mind way better.
Yeah.
The point I was trying to make to get there is that the character of his younger sister Shuri is so good. And
I said that in the car on the way home. I was like, she's easily my favorite character from that movie.
she's a total like scene stealer character. Like she's just great, and it's funny because I'm looking at I'm like, this 16-year-old girl is on a higher plane than Tony Stark. You know? She's doing more advanced shit than Tony Stark is. And, you know, that it's just fascinating the way that that's handled. And, you know, got to talk about you know, Lupita Nyong'o's character, the kind of like ex-girlfriend character. Mm-hmm. She's really good. I like that she's like a spy. Like, can we please get can Lupita Nyong'o be the next James Bond? Can that just happen? Just Lady Lupita Nyong'o James Bond. That would be very good. Because you get to see her do some James Bond type shit in this movie. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good shit. And then like the I don't know the actress's name, but the lady who plays his royal guard, like she's awesome. Like she's just badass. She has some cool moments. Old boy from Get Out is in there. But I really want to talk about the villain, Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger. Mm. He's a really fucking good villain, right?
Yeah, he's definitely that's like one of the strong points in the movie.
The thing about it is, and you know, we talked about this. This is something I'm always talking about. The villains, a great villain is one that you can get behind. You can understand his motivations. You can understand why he's the way that he is. The movie touches on subjects like race, but it's not beating you over the head with it. Mm. And yeah, I mean, I'm dancing around a little bit. We'll get into spoilers in a second, but I just loved the way that the villains' motivations were made clear. I like the twist when it's sort of revealed who the villain is. I sort of had a feeling anyway. I sort of saw it coming a little bit, but you know, that's neither here nor there. I just thought it was a really strong villain. Now, I do want to make a point that Dan actually made when we were talking about why is it. Well, no, you know what? Hang on. Before I even say this, let's go ahead and go into spoilers. Spoiler alert. If you have not seen the movie, stop now. If you don't want it to be spoiled, go see it. Come back, listen to the rest of this. So, having issued the spoiler alert, why is it that every fucking Marvel villain seems like they have to die? You know what they mean?
That's some real shit.
Like, they all have to die. There are so few Marvel villains that are not dead. You know?
Yeah, I think the only villain that's survived is Loki.
I mean, Adrian Toomes in Homecoming is alive, you know, but for the most part, they all gotta fucking die, and it's like, what? It's bullshit. Like, these characters are interesting. You can do more with these characters. And I know the reason why they do it. It's because it's because they don't want there to be the bullshit of like, oh, well, where was this person when this was happening? What was Claw doing when fucking, why isn't he in Black Panther 4? You know what I mean? Like, I understand why they go that route. But I'm just like, fuck, man. Like, why you gotta go the safe route? You're Marvel, dude. Like, be brave about it. Like, Marvel can afford to they can afford to take the brave path. You know? And that was one of the things that made Homecoming really refreshing to me. Is the fact that, the Vulture is still alive. And yeah, they probably kept him alive so that they have, like, Sinister Six potential down the line. But, it was cool to me that the Vulture was still alive. And it was cool to me that when he goes into prison, there are other villains that he bumps into and that are in there. Mm-hmm. Villains like Shocker and Scorpion are alive and well, and it makes the world feel more cohesive, and it makes it feel larger than the scale of a single movie, Like, it's a little bit frustrating, because, I thought that Andy Serkis' Claw was a total scene stealer. He was great.
Yeah, I was pretty sad when they actually killed him.
Yeah, I'm like, why'd you have to kill him off? You know what I mean? Like, you could have gotten away with, like, just making him disappear for the rest of the movie, and he's still out there, and he's just a fun little side character. Because, he's a fun character, and the way Andy Serkis plays him, like, he's a fucking good character.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they basically just used him as, like, the key, the way in.
Right.
For Killmonger, but it was just like, come on.
And that's
I feel
fine.
like that was a waste of a good character.
Yeah, and that's fine. That, like, I understand his purpose in this movie, but, like, he's a threat otherwise, and he was cool, and he's something that could have been touched on later on. He did not need to be killed, I just feel like all these villains need to stop fucking dying. Like, it doesn't have to go that way. Now, that being said, I do respect the way that Michael B. Jordan, like that Killmonger ended up dying. Because originally, Black Panther didn't want to kill him. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, but if I live, you're just going to fucking lock me up. And, it's just like, my ancestors said as they were jumping off the fucking slave boats. It's better, like, death is better than being kept in chains, Yeah,
at the end there, he basically ended up kind of killing himself.
Oh, he totally did, because he took the blade out and bled out at that point, I also thought, another good point that Dan made is that the last fight, I thought was a little disappointing, considering that this is the guy and the team from Creed,
Yeah.
Kind of expected to be a little more, like, visceral, I guess, the last fight. When really what it ended up being was, like, it was so obvious. Like, the second that they showed the fucking, like, suppressor panels, the second they felt the need to reveal that, I was just like, oh, okay, that's going to come into play.
Yeah, come on. That's the moment they bring it up, it's going to end up being important. Same thing with, like, him showing the other, like, suit, basically, with the gold.
Right, yeah. Well, and we already kind of knew that was going to be a thing, but, I don't feel like you necessarily had to do that. Like, I think it would have been a little more cool, maybe some casual fans would have been a little bit lost, but it would have been even more cool if, like, Black Panther just did it, and they didn't feel the need for the expository dialogue. I like it when shit like that is introduced and it doesn't come back around, because, like, or that they just do it because they know, they exist in that world. They don't need to confirm what the fuck it is. And I almost feel like that's the entire reason Martin Freeman's character was there at all.
Is for some expository bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Is for it to make sense that they're having to explain. He's literally just an expository character for them to explain shit that they already know about Wakanda to an outsider. Because we, as viewers, are the outsider. That's an expository. It's
He's
oldest
us.
trick in the book.
He's just us, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Oldest trick in the book. Boring white man. Expository character. So, And you know, I'll bring up something that I thought was amazing about Doctor Strange. One of my favorite things about Doctor Strange is they have that tidbit where he has like this encyclopedic knowledge of like music, you know, where he's like, oh, that's fucking so and so 1967 or whatever, you know. And I'm just like, when I first saw the movie, I was like, oh, this shit's gonna come back, you know. It's good. The final fight, he's gonna be quoting the Beatles or some shit, you know. And it never does. It's just something. Yeah, it's just something. The point is when you're writing something, like not every single thing needs to be a planted seed. It can just be flavor, you know. And it would have been really cool if, like, you know, they just did it. And I feel like you could have pieced together that, oh, that's a fucking vibranium suppressor, you know. Otherwise, I thought having a fight on the train track like that was really cool, but I just wish it was handled differently. That's kind of where my complaints end, though. I really love the cast. Like, I really think this has a great cast. Can we talk real quick though about that fucking soundtrack? Like, dude, that soundtrack is so good.
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna be real. I wasn't really paying attention to it.
Oh my god.
To be honest. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good. Like it's legit. Like I like hip hop. I have not really enjoyed modern hip hop in years. Every now and then there'll be a good track, you know, like you know, there are a few songs from like Kendrick and Drake and shit that I'll enjoy, but like modern hip hop for the most part sucks in my opinion. And this soundtrack, which was actually produced by Kendrick Lamar, is really fucking good. It's just a legitimately good original hip hop soundtrack for Black Panther. And I was sitting there listening to it and during the course of the movie, and then Anastasia and I went out to dinner afterwards, and on the way over I literally just bought it on iTunes, and it's been the main thing I've been listening to, just fucking certain tracks from the Black Panther soundtrack. It's that good. It's one of those soundtracks where afterwards I was like, all right, I'm buying this shit.
Okay.
It's really just a really good, you know, solid hip hop soundtrack. It's really good. You know, it's funny. I wanted to tell you this now that we're in the spoiler section. This was the fucking one of the best things that's happened to me in recent memory. So the post-credit scenes, there's two, right?
Yeah.
The first one is pretty much like kind of what you expect, like sort of the direction you knew they were going to take, where, you know, T'Challa is kind of coming forward and making it known that, hey, Wakanda is not a third world country. Like, we are like super advanced. We're about to put all of you motherfuckers to shame, basically. Yeah. Because that's actually something the movie did that I respected, where, you know, not only did the villain have understandable motivations, he was actually right. But
oh yeah, it's actually one of my favorite scenes is actually when he's in the necropolis, or, you know, the whole after thing again,
right,
when he regains the power of the Black Panther, and he's talking to his father again, and he's just like, you were wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, all of you motherfuckers were wrong.
You were wrong for what you did to him. You were wrong the way you've handled Wakanda for all these years. Like, the villain was right, and that's awesome. But here's the thing about it: he was just wrong in the way that he went about it all. But his actual like thought process was correct. And so in the first post-credit scene, T'Challa's like, no, like, I'm actually doing this. Like, you know, we're gonna be public about Wakanda, and we're gonna do some good for the world. We're not going to use it for superiority reasons. We're not going to use it to have, like, fucking New World Order, Holocaust Revolution shit. but we're going to help out, you know? Like, we're not going to keep this to ourselves anymore. And I really respected that. However, this hilarious thing, I'm getting sidetracked. So in the second post-credit scene, it's revealed that, you know, we knew that Bucky Barnes was being held in Wakanda, and we knew that they were kind of working on him. I think that was actually mentioned in Civil War as well.
Right, it's like he's basically like they put him on cryo, and
right,
they put him back on ice in the end of Civil War.
Right. So they finally, second post credit scene reveals that, oh, like he's good, and seems to be, his brainwashing seems to be totally reversed at this point. It seems like he's fixed, for lack of a better term. And he comes out, and it's kind of an emotional moment because you're just like, oh man, like it's like he knows that he's Bucky, and he's talking to Shuri, and he's interacting with all these little kids and shit like that. And it's kind of a sweet moment because you kind of realize the character of Bucky and like what he's been through, and like the extensive, how much work they had to do just to get him back to normal.
Because like I think they actually did a prelude to this, like kind of like what was happening with him.
Yeah,
and they basically had to like delete the shit, the trigger words,
right,
while also keeping like his original like personality and shit like that within his brain.
Yeah, it drives home how tragic his character really is. But it's so funny because you see him emerge, and it's like this emotional moment, and then like after it's all said and done, I swear to fucking God this happened. I'm not shitting you. Anastasia goes, "Was that Aquaman?"
No.
I swear to God that happened. She goes, "Who was that? Was that Aquaman?"
That's hilarious, dude.
And I begin to just laugh my fucking... I'm in tears. I'm laughing my ass off.
Did you catch like what they were calling him?
Yeah, White Wolf, yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. If you know that.
Cool little nod, yeah.
Like, if you know about that shit, it's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm sitting here, though, after she said that, I'm just dying. Like, it's the funniest... It's like if you were writing an episode of, like, a TV show about, like, taking your fucking girlfriend that doesn't know anything about superhero anything to the movies.
That's like right there.
That would be the line that was written for that,
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh my God, I'm just dying. I'm fucking. And then when we get out, we get all the way out to the car before she realizes, oh, Aquaman's DC.
That's hilarious. So actually, speaking of, since you brought her up, how did she feel about them rhinos getting thrown around?
So she loved the rhinos. Here's the thing. The movie is actually really careful with the way it handles the rhinos. Because, like, a rhino gets thrown around, but they're very careful to be like, but it didn't get hurt. And then, here was my point. I made this point when we were having dinner. So, it seems like, old boy from Get Out, I don't know his name, the dude from Get Out, who plays one of the side characters. It seems like his job is to like raise these sort of battle rhinos.
Yeah, raise the battle rhinos, and like I guess like his tribe, that tribe is like they protect the border. That's
right.
That's like their deal.
Right. They protect the border. They raise the kind of livestock and the I guess war rhinos, battle rhinos. And I'm like, this is Wakanda. They have all of this technology. They have all of this shit that is 100 times better than a fucking rhino in battle. Why are they putting the rhinos at risk? You know what I mean? Yes, they have wrong. Yes, they have the vibranium like plating over the heads and the horns and shit like that. Other than that, they are unarmored. And I'm like, and Anastasia's, oh, tradition, blah blah blah. Tradition, my ass, dude. Like, the rhinos are an endangered species. It's a little fucked up that they're just like bringing them into battle like that.
It's true.
And then at the end, there's like a shot where you see like a whole herd of like baby rhinos, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's sweet. It looks like they're kind of trying to like conserve them, and then you realize, oh no, these motherfuckers are gonna like go into battle one day. And I'm like, what's the logic in this? Wakanda is the most advanced technological civilization on the planet. And they're gonna be charging in on rhinos? Like, it's kind of fucked up, Like, these are endangered creatures. You would think that, and the movie's, like I said, very careful about that. I don't think any of the rhinos die. But she was happy with the rhino treatment overall. My fiance is a huge, passionate rhino lover, and there's that scene where the rhino like licks the cheek. Yeah. She was pretty much, she was beside herself when that happened. Anyway, I think we're both in agreement that Black Panther is a very good movie, though, and that people should go see it. And people are seeing it. It's doing very well at the box office. It's cool to see, I'm happy that people are enjoying it. And, like, I touched on this a little bit, but I want to say, like, legitimately, all bullshit aside, I am very happy that this movie exists for people. You and I have been seeing, us, fucking white boys been seeing ourselves represented on screen for a long, long time. With superhero movies, it's nice to see this culture represented, in a big budget superhero movie in a way that is legitimate and is treated with respect. And it's nice to see, people are like, oh, fucking people are being so extra about Black Panther. I'm like, let them, dude. Like, let them have this. Like, this is this is a mark in the fucking win column. And I'm really happy it exists. It's kind of important that this movie exists, So, anyway, Black Panther, really good movie. Go see it. Would you agree, Todd?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. You got anything else to say about it before we wrap it up?
I think we basically covered it, man.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time. Get fucking dunked on. Wakanda forever. Bye.
See ya.